On the morning of my wife's funeral, my own son looked at me and said coldly, "Dad, Mom's gone." But Megan's birthday only happens once a year. I buried Margaret alone, while laughter and music echoed from his party across town. I clenched my fists, hiding the storm inside me until the truth I uncovered shattered every illusion of family. What if the son you sacrificed everything for revealed he never knew you and never even loved his mother? That day I vowed there would be justice, not revenge, but a reckoning he could never escape. Before we go on, do not forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. We bring you new stories every day. Hit like and let us know what city you are watching from in the comments. My hands trembled as I dialed Kyle's number at 8:30 a.m., adjusting my black tie for the third time. Margaret's empty coffee cup sat on the counter, lipstick still faintly marking the rim. The kitchen felt hollow without her morning humming. 4 rings, then Kyle's groggy voice. "Yeah, son, it is Dad." I straightened my shoulders. The funeral starts at 11:30. Loud music thumped through the phone. Laughter echoed in the background. Megan's voice shrieking about decorations. Kyle cleared his throat. "Dad, I told you yesterday. Megan's birthday party is tonight. We have been planning this for months." The words hit like ice water. I gripped the receiver tighter. "Your mother's funeral is today, Kyle. Once in a lifetime. Look, Mom is not coming back, but my wife's birthday only happens once a year. We have got caterers coming. The band's setting up. Your mother raised you for 35 years, and I appreciate that. But I cannot just abandon Megan on her special day. You understand, right?" The dial tone buzzed in my ear. I sat motionless for exactly 3 minutes, staring at Margaret's reading glasses beside the phone. The kitchen clock showed 8:47 a.m. My wedding ring caught the morning sunlight streaming through windows she had cleaned last week. I found the funeral program on the counter, Kyle listed as pallbearer. My pen scratched his name out with deliberate strokes. At the cemetery, faces turned expectantly. "Where is Kyle?" Patricia, Margaret's sister, kept asking. I practiced my response. "Important commitments." The words tasted bitter. 23 people came to honor my wife of 40 years. Her son was not one of them. I stood alone beside the casket, surrounded by Margaret's garden club friends and our old neighbors. The empty space where Kyle should have stood felt enormous. She was so proud of that boy. Mrs. Henderson whispered, always talking about his success. I nodded, throat tight. Margaret had defended Kyle until her last breath. "He is just busy with his new life," she had said when he missed her chemo appointments. "Young couples need space." The pastor spoke about family bonds and eternal love. I watched dirt fall onto polished wood, each shovel full, bearing not just Margaret, but my illusions about our son. Driving home, I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles whitened. The passenger seat, where Margaret used to sit, stretched empty beside me. She had always insisted we take her little Honda instead of my truck. Said it was better for the environment. The radio played her favorite song. I turned it off immediately. Our street looked the same. Neat lawns, painted mailboxes, the life we had built together. I pulled into the driveway and sat for a moment, gathering strength to face the emptiness inside. The front door key turned with its familiar click. I hung my keys on the hook Margaret had installed, a small, everyday action that felt monumental in the silence. No humming from the kitchen, no television murmuring, just the house settling around 40 years of memories. I loosened my black tie and sank into my armchair. The brown leather one Margaret always said clashed with her floral curtains. She had wanted to redecorate for years, but I had been too busy building the business. Now those curtains would stay forever. Our wedding photo smiled from the mantel, Margaret at 23, radiant in her grandmother's dress. We had married right here in Davenport, promised each other everything we had. I delivered on that promise. Maybe too well. The memories flooded back, unbidden. Kyle taking his first steps across this very living room, chubby hands reaching for Margaret's outstretched arms. Birthday parties with handmade decorations because we could not afford store-bought. Margaret working double shifts at the diner while I got the construction company started. She had never complained. Not when I worked 16-hour days. Not when we ate macaroni and cheese for weeks. "We are building Kyle's future," she would whisper gently, after he had fallen asleep between us in our bed, too young for his own room. I found her Bible on the nightstand bookmarks, still marking Psalms. A handwritten note fell out. "My dearest Alan, please do not let Kyle forget us. We gave him everything we had." I hope that was enough. "All my love, M." My hands shook, reading her careful script slowly. In the closet, I discovered the special box she had hidden. Kyle's report cards saved from kindergarten through college. Every A+ celebrated, every achievement treasured. She had written little notes on each one. "So proud. Our brilliant boy." The graduation photos hurt most. Kyle in his cap and gown. Degree paid for with Margaret's overtime hours and my weekend jobs. Total cost $200,000. His proud smile never acknowledged the sacrifice behind his success. I pulled out my calculator and started adding. The house down payment, I had given him $350,000. His wedding to Megan, $75,000. His first car, $35,000. Graduate school he had insisted on but never used, $48,000. The emergency loans for vacations, Megan's shopping, and failed business ventures. Margaret's coffee mug still sat in the dishwasher. Her romance novel lay open on her nightstand bookmark, waiting for eyes that would never read again. Get well cards from friends covered the kitchen counter, people who had cared more about her final months than her own son. The numbers kept climbing higher. Kyle's total takeover, 15 years, $847,000. Nearly $1 million of our lives handed over with love and hope. I remembered my own father, a hard man who had given me nothing but the expectation to make my own way. "Build your own character," he had said. Maybe he had been right after all. Darkness fell outside. I did not bother turning on lights. A car pulled into the driveway, engine idling. I did not get up to check. If Kyle wanted to talk, he knew where to find me. The engine revved and drove away. At 6:00 a.m., I sat at my mahogany desk with file folders spread in precise rows. Kyle education, Kyle house, Kyle wedding. My coffee grew cold as I opened the calculator app and began the reckoning Margaret had been too kind to demand. The reading glasses reflected my computer screen as I pulled up bank records. 15 years of transactions, each one marked transfer to Kyle or loan Kyle emergency. The papers rustled in the quiet house, the only sounds in my new reality. College tuition first. 4 years at $52,000 each. I remembered writing those checks, Margaret working extra shifts to cover our own bills while our son partied at Iowa State. Then graduate school. Another $48,000 for an MBA he had never used, dropping out of the program to find himself in Europe. That European trip, $35,000. Just temporary, Dad, until I get established. The house purchase nearly broke us. Kyle, at 25, standing in our living room with Megan's ring on her finger. We found the perfect place, but we are a little short on the down payment, $350,000. I had co-signed the mortgage, covered every penny of the down payment. Family helps family, Kyle had said, hugging me tight. I will pay you back once the business takes off. What business he had been working for me since graduation, drawing a salary he had not earned while learning skills I had hoped he would value. Margaret's secret notebook fell from the files, her handwriting documenting every sacrifice. Anniversary dinner canceled. Needed $5,000 for Kyle's car repair. Postponed my doctor visit. Kyle's wedding costs higher than expected. Bought generic groceries this month. Sent Kyle money for Megan's birthday. Her final note cut deepest. We gave Kyle everything. I hope he remembers us kindly. The calculator's numbers climbed. $847,000 more than $750,000. My father had given me $20 in a handshake when I left home. I had built everything from nothing, and Kyle saw it all as his inheritance to spend while we were still alive. I remembered him calling my company a family business last Christmas, as if he had built it beside me instead of walking into a ready-made position. Megan had nodded approvingly, already planning how to spend profits I had earned with 40 years of labor. My business mindset kicked in strongly. This was a problem requiring a solution, not grief, requiring comfort. I had been emotional too long, making excuses for behavior Margaret had worried about in private. Maybe we are doing too much for him, she had whispered after Kyle's latest emergency. Her photograph watched from the desk corner as I closed the files carefully. I stood up with new resolve, feeling something harder than grief settling in my chest. You were right to worry, I told her picture. The phone rang. Kyle's name lit up the caller ID. I stared at it for 4 rings and then answered. "Hey, Dad. Hope you are doing okay after yesterday." Kyle's voice carried that familiar, cheerful tone, the one he used when he needed something. I noticed he did not mention the funeral specifically. He did not ask how I was coping without Margaret. "I am managing." I kept my voice steady, staring at the financial documents scattered across my desk. Good. Listen, I am calling because we need to cover some unexpected costs. Megan's party went amazing, but we kind of went overboard. You know how it is. You only turned 32 once, right? In the background, I could hear Megan's voice. "Tell him about the band." "Yeah." "So we hired this incredible live band, took everyone to that new steakhouse downtown, got Megan this gorgeous diamond bracelet. She deserves the best you know. But now the credit card bills are coming in, and we are looking at about $15,000 in immediate payments." $15,000. I calculated quickly. Loan number 47 over 15 years. Yesterday, I had buried my wife. Today, my son wanted money for a party. So can you just wire it to my account? Today, Megan's really stressed about the bills. And you know how she gets when she is worried. The moment stretched between us. I looked at Margaret's photograph, then at the neat columns of numbers documenting Kyle's total cost to our marriage. No. Silence. "Then what do you mean no? Is there a problem with the bank?" "I mean no, Kyle. I will not be giving you any more money." The cheerful mask slipped from his voice. "Are you seriously saying no to me right now after everything we have been through this week?" Everything we have been through, as if he had suffered through Margaret's funeral instead of throwing a party. "You are 35 years old, Kyle. So what does that have to do with helping your son out of a jam? It is not like you cannot afford it." Megan's voice escalated in the background. "Tell him we need that money. We already spent it." I said no. The words felt strange in my mouth. The first time I had ever denied Kyle anything. This is unbelievable. His voice turned cold. "Mom just died and you are being petty about money. She would want you to help us." The manipulation was so casual, so practiced. How many times had he played this card? How many times had Margaret and I folded because he invoked family loyalty? "Your mother wanted you at her funeral." Kyle's breathing grew harsh. Fine. We will figure this out ourselves. Max out more cards. Borrow from Megan's parents, whatever. But do not expect us to come around much anymore if this is how you are going to be. The threat hung in the air. For 35 years, it had worked perfectly. Kyle's presence as a reward for my money, his absence as punishment for saying no. "I understand," I said calmly. What I understand. Take care, Kyle." I hung up before he could respond. The phone sat silent on my desk, no longer an instrument of manipulation. For the first time in decades, I had ended a conversation with my son on my terms. I opened my laptop and scrolled to Kyle's employee file. Tomorrow morning, we would have a different kind of conversation, one conducted in the office, where I was the boss, not the father who had forgotten the difference. If Kyle wanted to treat me like a stranger, I would accommodate him professionally. At 7:30 a.m., I walked through Foster Construction's lobby 2 full hours before Kyle's usual arrival. His employee photo hung on the management wall, smiling confidently in a suit I had bought him. Today, I studied that image with different eyes, seeing entitlement where I had once seen promise. In my office, Kyle's personnel files spread across my desk like evidence in a court case. 8 years of employment records told the real story. Missed deadlines, contractor complaints, inflated expense reports, projects delayed because Kyle prioritized long lunches over supervision, client relationships damaged by his casual attitude toward commitments. I had made excuses for all of it. Family loyalty. Margaret's gentle reminders that Kyle was still learning. But these documents revealed a pattern of professional negligence that would have ended any other employee's career years ago. At 8:45, I called Sarah Mitchell to my office. As HR director, she would need to handle the paperwork properly. Her face showed no surprise when I explained my decision. She had been documenting Kyle's infractions for months, waiting patiently for me to act. "I will prepare the termination documents immediately," she said quietly. Security escort? Yes. Standard protocol for management terminations. I practiced my speech in the office mirror, watching my reflection deliver the words with steady professionalism. No emotion, No explanation beyond what the law required. Kyle would enter this room as my son's employee and leave as a terminated worker. At 9:30, Kyle strolled in 15 minutes late, joking with the receptionist about his recovery from Megan's party. His laughter echoed through the lobby, while co-workers glanced nervously toward my closed office door. He stopped at the coffee machine, completely oblivious to the storm ahead. "Kyle, please come to my office immediately." My voice through the intercom carried new authority. Kyle's casual response drifted up the hallway. "Sure, Dad. Just let me grab my coffee." "Now, Kyle." The silence that followed told me he had heard the change. His footsteps approached slowly, heavier than usual. When he opened my door and saw Sarah Mitchell waiting with paperwork, his smile faltered. "What is with the formal setup?" He attempted his usual casual tone, but uncertainty crept through. I remained seated, hands folded on the desk. "Kyle, your employment with Foster Construction is terminated, effective immediately." His laugh sounded forced. "Very funny, Dad. What is this really about?" I slid the termination papers across the polished surface. "Please review these documents and sign where indicated." The papers seemed to burn his fingers as he picked them up. His eyes scanned the legal language face, growing pale. "You cannot be serious. This is our family business. This decision is based on your work performance and professional conduct." My voice remained level businesslike. "Your position has been eliminated due to restructuring. This is about yesterday's phone call, is it not?" His voice cracked slightly. "Look, I am sorry about the money thing. We can work this out. Security will escort you to collect your personal items." Kyle's demeanor shifted from disbelief to desperation. "Mom would not want this. You know she would not." He leaned forward, trying to invoke the guilt that had always worked before. I pressed the security button. "This is a business decision, not a personal one." Mike Thompson appeared in the doorway, professional but sympathetic. Kyle's face flushed red as he realized the humiliation was real. Coworkers gathered in the hallway, watching their former boss's son being escorted out like a common criminal. "Dad, please." Kyle's final appeal came as he grabbed his coffee mug and desktop photo of Megan. "Think about what this means." I met his eyes for the first time during the encounter. "I have." Through my office window, I watched him load his pathetic collection of personal items into his car. His shoulders shook with rage or grief, I could not tell which. When he looked back at the building one last time, I turned away. Sarah Mitchell returned with the signed paperwork. "All access codes have been changed. His computer access is terminated." I removed Kyle's photo from the management wall myself, placing it face down in a drawer. The empty space looked cleaner somehow. My secretary knocked gently. "Mr. Foster, someone is here to see you without an appointment." Designer heels clicked aggressively across the marble lobby floor. Megan Foster stormed past reception without waiting for permission, her perfectly styled hair slightly disheveled from the wind. Kyle followed behind, looking embarrassed, and defeated a shadow of the confident man who had entered this building an hour earlier. "How dare you humiliate Kyle like this?" Megan's voice carried through the open office door as she pointed an accusatory finger at me. I remained seated, not acknowledging her theatrical entrance. Kyle positioned himself between Megan and my desk, his embarrassment deepening. "Megan, let me handle this." She ignored him completely. "We have bills to pay Alan, a lifestyle to maintain. This family business belongs to Kyle, too." "This is a private workplace," I said calmly. "You need to leave." Her face flushed deeper red. "We deserve severance pay, at least 6 months. Kyle's worked here for 8 years. You owe us." Kyle's weak attempts at mediation fell on deaf ears. "Dad, please, can we discuss this privately?" "No, Megan, cut him off. He needs to hear this. I know about wrongful termination laws." "Kyle was an at-will employee," I replied evenly. "No severance is required by law or contract." Megan's attacks turned personal with venomous precision. "Margaret would be ashamed of how you are treating her son. You are having some kind of breakdown, are you not? Just a bitter old man taking out your grief on us." Kyle's face went white. "Megan, please do not say that." My jaw tightened, but I maintained composure. This was exactly the reaction I had expected from her. Manipulation disguised as righteous anger. Kyle tried desperately to regain control. "Dad, I know I messed up with the funeral. I am sorry, but destroying my career will not bring Mom back. Think about what this means for our family, for future grandchildren." The words hung in the air like smoke from a dying fire. I looked at this man who shared my DNA, but none of my values. What family Megan's financial threats escalated quickly. "We will sue for our share of Margaret's estate. Kyle is entitled to half of everything. We know about the life insurance policy. Margaret left everything to me." The simple truth deflated her bluster momentarily. "That is impossible. We are consulting a lawyer." I pressed the security button as Megan's voice reached dangerous levels. Mike Thompson returned with backup, their presence filling the office doorway. Several employees had gathered in the hallway, drawn by the commotion. "I am not leaving," Megan screamed as security approached. "This is theft. This is abuse." Her resistance was futile but loud. The entire office heard her threats and accusations as she was escorted through the lobby. Kyle's humiliation reached new depths watching his wife being physically removed from his former workplace. When the noise faded, Kyle remained alone with me. His last-ditch emotional manipulation came in a whisper. "I am all the family you have left." The words were meant to break me. Instead, they clarified everything. I looked at this stranger who had worn my son's face for 35 years and delivered the truth he needed to hear. "No, you are just someone who used to be my son." Kyle's face crumbled. For a moment, I saw the little boy who had once run into my arms after school. Then the moment passed, and only the entitled stranger remained. He left without another word. I addressed my concerned employees with professional calm, explaining this was a personal matter that would not affect business operations. Most nodded with understanding. They had witnessed Kyle's poor performance for years. "Please ensure that Mrs. Foster is never allowed in this building again," I instructed security. Alone in my office, I felt my hands trembling slightly. The hardest part was over. I looked at Margaret's photo on my desk. "I hope you understand." Opening my computer, I searched for estate planning attorneys. Time to accelerate the next phase. I scheduled an appointment with Robert Chen for that afternoon, then noticed Kyle's birthday marked on my calendar for next month. I deleted it permanently. The prestigious law offices of Chen & Associates occupied the top floor of Davenport's tallest building. At 2:30 p.m., I walked into the reception area carrying my leather briefcase containing Margaret's will insurance documents and the financial records that would reshape my family's future. The receptionist recognized me, immediately escorting me directly to Robert Chen's corner office. Afternoon sunlight streamed through tall windows overlooking downtown Davenport, illuminating rows of law books and active case files that created an atmosphere of serious business. Robert rose from behind his mahogany desk, concern evident in his eyes. We had been friends for 20 years. He had handled Margaret's will, my business incorporation, and countless legal matters requiring discretion. "How are you holding up, Alan?" His voice carried genuine sympathy. I declined his offer of coffee and settled into the leather chair across from his desk. "I need to make some changes to my estate planning." Robert's expression shifted to professional mode. "Of course. Updating beneficiaries after Margaret's passing is standard." "No." I opened my briefcase and extracted the documents. "I am removing Kyle entirely." The words hit Robert like a physical blow. His professional composure wavered as he processed the implications. "Alan, I need to understand what is driving this decision." I explained Kyle's absence from the funeral, calmly including his exact words about Megan's birthday party. Robert Chen's face darkened with each detail. As Margaret's friend and our family attorney, he understood the magnitude of Kyle's betrayal. "I want to create a completely new will," I continued. "The primary beneficiary will be the Margaret Foster Memorial Foundation." Robert leaned forward, his concern now focused on legal implications. "Alan, I am obligated to ensure you are thinking clearly about this decision. I have never been more certain of anything." I outlined my vision: education scholarships for underprivileged children, cancer research funding, causes Margaret had supported throughout her life. Kyle is to be explicitly excluded along with any future descendants. Robert's admiration grew as I detailed the foundation structure. Moving company assets into an irrevocable trust would protect everything from potential lawsuits. I would retain control during my lifetime, with the foundation assuming ownership upon my death. We will need to change all insurance beneficiaries, Robert noted, making detailed notes. This is extremely thorough planning. I had decided the family home would be sold, proceeds donated to the foundation. Margaret's jewelry would be auctioned for charity. The only exception, Margaret's wedding ring, would be buried with me when my time came. What about Kyle's childhood belongings? Robert asked gently. Donated. I am systematically removing Kyle from my life. Robert fulfilled his professional duty by questioning my mental state and decision-making capacity. My rational responses and detailed planning demonstrated clear thinking. He gradually shifted from concerned friend to admiring professional. The formal signing ceremony involved 2 legal witnesses from Robert's firm. My steady signature contrasted with the magnitude of each decision. Robert explained that these documents took immediate legal effect. Kyle was now completely disinherited. I want Kyle to receive formal notice of this change, I instructed. Additional legal protections followed quickly. Power of attorney documents removing Kyle's authority. Medical directives excluding him from healthcare decisions. A living will with specific instructions about my care. Robert documented my mental competency thoroughly. Tomorrow, I would visit banks to update all accounts removing Kyle as beneficiary from retirement funds and investment portfolios. Robert offered to help coordinate with financial institutions. The foundation planning brought unexpected peace. I nominated Robert as a trustee, discussed the board structure, and planned the first scholarship recipients. Margaret would be proud of this foundation, Robert said as we concluded. She always believed in education and helping others. For the first time in days, I felt genuine satisfaction instead of cold determination. Robert understood this was not revenge. It was justice. My transformation from grieving father to purposeful philanthropist was complete. We shook hands outside the law office. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Kyle. The first sign he was realizing the seriousness of his situation. I deleted the voicemails without listening and walked toward my car. The next phase awaited. The Davenport Country Club's elegant lobby welcomed me with familiar luxury. Mahogany panels, crystal chandeliers, and oil portraits of founding members created an atmosphere of old money and established values. As treasurer of the monthly board meeting, I'd walked these halls for 15 years. 12 board members gathered around the polished conference table discussing routine club business before our official meeting. The smell of leather furniture and fresh coffee mingled with whispered conversations about recent events. William Hayes, our board president, approached with genuine sympathy. Alan, the memorial service was beautiful. Margaret would have been pleased. Thank you for the flowers, I replied graciously. Patricia Morton, Margaret's sister and a longtime member, joined our conversation. I kept looking for Kyle during the service. Where was he? The question I had been expecting hung in the air. I paused, then decided truth would serve Margaret's memory better than diplomacy. Kyle chose not to attend his mother's funeral. The shocked silence spread like ripples across water. Patricia's face went pale. What do you mean, chose not to? I delivered Kyle's exact words about Megan's birthday party being more important. The visible disgust on board members' faces told me everything about their values. Values Kyle had abandoned. William's wife Nancy had been eavesdropping from the hallway. Within minutes, she was making phone calls. The story reached the Ladies' Bridge Club within an hour, then spread through Davenport's social elite like wildfire. I returned home unaware of the social storm I had unleashed. The first consequences struck Megan the next morning. Her yoga instructor at the exclusive studio asked her to leave mid-session. We prefer members with family values, came the cold explanation. Kyle's lunch invitation at the country club was rescinded with a polite but firm phone call. Their regular table at Romano's restaurant became permanently unavailable. Megan's confusion turned to growing anger as patterns emerged. Saturday morning brought Kyle's most humiliating moment. His golf foursome made transparent excuses and left early. The pro shop manager suggested Kyle might be more comfortable elsewhere. He walked to his car alone, understanding that everyone knew about the funeral. Megan's shopping experience at Bergdorf's boutique shattered her remaining illusions. The sales associate's cold reception replaced years of warm service. Her credit application faced mysterious delays. The manager suggested she might prefer shopping elsewhere. Kyle's professional isolation proved equally devastating. Job interviews were canceled without explanation. Former business contacts stopped returning calls. His networking lunch at the Chamber of Commerce became awkward and brief. Potential employers knew the story before he even arrived. Have you ever watched someone's choices destroy not only themselves, but also those around them? Share your feelings in the comments. Drop a number 1 if you understand how reputation and respect can vanish overnight. The final straw came at Elite Salon, where Megan's regular appointment was suddenly canceled. Overhearing other clients discuss her heartless husband, she fled in tears. The local newspaper society columnist mentioned the disappointing absence at Margaret's service. Church congregation members expressed open disapproval. Former friends avoided Kyle and Megan at public events. Kyle's desperate attempts to explain the situation fell on deaf ears. His claims that I was exaggerating met with universal disbelief. Davenport's tight-knit community had rendered their verdict. Megan's breakdown was inevitable. She confronted Kyle about their ruined reputation, demanding he fix this situation immediately. When Kyle admitted he did not know how she threatened to leave him if things did not improve. I heard about these social consequences from various sources, feeling satisfaction that justice was being served naturally. Davenport's values aligned with my own: family loyalty, respect for the dead, basic human decency. Kyle had violated all of them. The community was honoring Margaret's memory by rejecting those who dishonored it. My phone rang during breakfast. The bank manager's voice carried professional concern. Mr. Foster, Kyle and Megan's mortgage payment is 30 days overdue. You are still guaranteeing the loan, correct? I paused, considering the implications. I would like to schedule a meeting tomorrow morning to discuss changes to my guarantees. Financial pressure would complete what social exile had begun. At 9:00 a.m., I walked through First National Bank's marble lobby, past the solemn oil portraits of founding members who had built their fortunes on honest work and enduring family values. Bank manager David Harrison's corner office overlooked the Mississippi River, where barges carried cargo that had built Davenport's prosperity steadily for generations. David's nervous demeanor was evident as he reviewed Kyle and Megan's files spread across his polished mahogany desk. Mortgage papers, loan agreements, guarantee forms, a long paper trail of financial dependency that was about to come to an abrupt end. Alan, I appreciate you coming in on such short notice. David's voice carried uncomfortable formality. Kyle's mortgage is now 60 days delinquent. The amount due is $18,400. I sat perfectly composed, hands folded carefully. I understand you need my guaranteed payment. Well, yes, as you have done for the past 3 months. David's assumption hung in the air like smoke before a spreading fire. I am withdrawing my guarantee effective immediately. The banker's face went pale. I do not understand. You have guaranteed this loan for 8 years. I presented pre-drafted legal documents from Robert Chen's office. You will find everything in order. 30 days notice, as required by law. David frantically called the bank's legal department while I sat quietly watching morning traffic cross the bridge that Margaret and I had walked across countless times together. The lawyer's voice through the speakerphone confirmed what David feared most. My withdrawal was perfectly legal. This means we will have to begin foreclosure proceedings, David said weakly. I understand. Please expedite the process. Meanwhile, across town, Kyle endured his 10th job interview in just 2 weeks. The interviewer's cold reception followed a pattern he had already learned to expect. His carefully prepared explanations about seeking new challenges fell on deaf ears that had already heard the funeral story in whispers. Thank you for your time, Mr. Foster. We will be in touch. The polite dismissal carried finality. Kyle's growing desperation showed in his slumped shoulders as he walked toward his aging Toyota. The BMW had been repossessed only last month. That afternoon, Megan discovered the credit card crisis at Nordstrom. Her platinum card was declined for a simple purchase mascara to replace the one she had cried away. There must be some mistake, she told the embarrassed sales associate. Her angry call to the credit card company revealed the harsh truth. Your co-signer has withdrawn his guarantee. The account is suspended pending full payment of the outstanding balance. Megan's public humiliation deepened as other customers watched her argue furiously with customer service. The crystal clear reality finally hit. Alan had systematically removed every financial safety net they had taken for granted. Kyle and Megan returned home to find electricity disconnected. The utility company's notice cited unpaid bills totaling over $1,200. Kyle's failed negotiations with the payment department ended once they discovered his employment termination. Their first night by candlelight became a harsh crash course in reality. Megan paced their dark living room designer heels, clicking sharply against the hardwood floors, accusing Kyle of destroying their lives completely. His weak attempts to blame Alan for being vindictive met with her growing hysteria. "Fix this or I am gone," she declared with venom in her tone. Kyle's desperate credit applications were denied instantly. His debt-to-income ratio had become impossible without steady employment. Megan's maxed-out cards offered no relief. For the first time, they discussed bankruptcy with genuine fear. The garage sale of their luxury items brought pathetic and humiliating returns. Wedding gifts that had cost guests hundreds sold for $20. Former friends drove past but did not stop. Megan watched her jewelry collection disappear into strangers' hands while Kyle sold his golf clubs to a teenager for pocket money. The BMW's repossession in broad daylight provided the neighborhood's entertainment for the entire afternoon. Kyle's humiliation was complete as he removed his personal items under the repo man's impatient watch. Megan screamed at the driver while neighbors peered from windows, whispering behind curtains. I drove past their house that evening, observing the visible chaos, with a deep sense of satisfaction. This was not cruelty. It was consequence. Margaret had always taught that actions have results. Kyle was finally learning that lesson when Kyle called begging for a face-to-face meeting, claiming he had something important to say. I agreed to meet at Morrison Park the next afternoon, the same park where I had taught him to ride a bicycle 30 years ago, back when he still looked at me with love instead of calculation. I hung up and looked at a framed photo of young Kyle on his bicycle, remembering simpler, better times. Then I set the photo face down on my desk. 6 months after my bank meeting, the county foreclosure auction took place on the courthouse steps. I observed from across the street in my black sedan, watching carefully as 1247 Maple Avenue, Kyle and Megan's former dream home, went up for public sale. The county auctioneer read the legal description with bureaucratic precision, while a small crowd of real estate investors and curious onlookers gathered together. Kyle and Megan stood apart from the crowd, Megan's tears reflecting the sharp morning sunlight. Through my binoculars, I watched their final humiliation unfold in silence. Opening bid is $280,000 for this 4-bedroom colonial, the auctioneer announced. A woman in a navy business suit raised her hand confidently. Kyle frantically tried to identify her while whispering urgently to Megan. The bidding reached $315,000 with only 2 participants remaining, the mystery woman and a local contractor. When my attorney Robert Chen arrived and nodded to the woman, Kyle's growing suspicion crystallized into shocked realization. "That is Dad's lawyer," he whispered to Megan, his voice carrying across the quiet crowd. Megan's disbelief was audible. He would not. He could not. Kyle's desperate attempt to approach the mystery bidder was prevented by courthouse security. The auction continued with mechanical efficiency while Kyle's world collapsed in real time. $317,000 called the woman in navy blue. Going once, going twice, sold. Kyle's legs gave out completely. Megan's scream, "This is our home," echoed off the courthouse walls as the auctioneer's gavel sealed their fate. I exited my car and walked toward the courthouse steps, my presence causing Kyle to understand the complete scope of my 6-month strategy, the guarantee withdrawal, the perfect timing, the bid amount calculated to exactly match the mortgage balance. Everything had been orchestrated with business precision. The mystery bidder revealed herself as Sarah Mitchell, my trusted secretary, acting as agent for the newly formed Mitchell Holdings, LLC. Kyle stumbled toward me on shaking legs, his broken voice barely audible. "How could you do this to us?" "I did not do anything," I replied calmly. "The bank did." His desperate pleas about Margaret's favorite garden and her love for this house met my cold, unshaken response. "Margaret's not here to see what you have become." Megan's final attack came as a wild lunge, screaming accusations about elder abuse and mental incompetence. Robert Chen documented her hysteria while security escorted her firmly away from me. The entire scene provided perfect evidence of their true character for anyone watching. 2 weeks later, the moving truck looked pitifully small for their former life. Megan threw clothes into suitcases with violent anger, while Kyle carefully wrapped Margaret's crystal vase, the last gift that connected him to his mother. Their former neighbors watched from porches but offered no help. The social exile was complete and undeniable. Megan's ultimatum came that evening. "I cannot live like this anymore." Her confession about talking to her ex-boyfriend marked their marriage's breaking point. "I married into a wealthy family, not this." Her final cruel words cut deepest. "Your father was right about us." Kyle spent his final night alone in the empty house, walking through rooms filled with memories of better times. In the kitchen drawer, he found Margaret's hidden note. "Kyle, remember we love you." For the first time, genuine tears of regret fell as he understood what he had truly lost. I received the keys from Sarah Mitchell with quiet satisfaction. My decision to renovate the house and donate it to a deserving family would complete the circle. Margaret would approve of this justice. That evening, Kyle called from a payphone outside a cheap motel. His cell service canceled. The phone rang in my house, but seeing Kyle's name on caller ID, I let it go to voicemail. The final confrontation could wait. Kyle arrived at my front door at 7:30 p.m. on a cold November evening, 3 months after losing the house. His finger hovered over the doorbell for a full minute, while I watched from the living room window, debating whether to answer. When I finally opened the door, I did not invite him inside. Kyle's appearance shocked me unshaven, wearing a wrinkled shirt and jeans. He had aged 5 years and 6 months. His obvious weight loss and defeated posture contrasted sharply with his former arrogance. "Dad, I know I messed up terribly." His voice shook as he launched into a rehearsed speech about understanding his mistakes now. I listened passively from the doorway as he described living in a studio apartment above a laundromat, working at a gas station for minimum wage, and Megan leaving him for her ex-boyfriend who owned a restaurant chain. "I have learned my lesson about what really matters," he claimed, when he switched tactics, suggesting I was lonely in this big house and offering to be the son Mom wanted me to be. I recognized every manipulation technique he was using. "When is your mother's birthday?" I asked suddenly. Kyle paused, then guessed wrong. June 15th. What was her favorite flower? Roses. Another wrong answer. Margaret loved daisies. My realization was complete. Kyle had never really known Margaret at all. His growing frustration with my questions revealed his true nature. The old entitled tone crept back. "This is ridiculous. Just tell me what you want me to say." Eventually, his real purpose emerged. "Okay. Yes, I need help." The eviction notices, the desperate promises to pay me back when I get on my feet, the suggestion that I was wealthy enough to help family. Kyle still saw me as an ATM. His final manipulation involved Margaret. Mom would be heartbroken to see us like this. She always believed in second chances. "I miss her too, Dad. We both loved her." For a moment, I wavered, remembering Margaret's kind heart. Then I realized this was exactly what Margaret had feared. "You want to know what your mother really thought? I retrieved Margaret's hidden journal from her nightstand and read her own words. I am worried Kyle only loves our money. What if we have raised a child who cannot love?" Kyle's shocked silence told me everything. "Margaret died knowing what you really are," I said calmly. "She changed her will before dying. She left you nothing because she knew you would waste it." Kyle's mask finally dropped completely. His angry threats about contesting the will and calling me senile revealed his vindictive and bitter nature. His final cruel words, "I hope you die alone in this house," gave me complete satisfaction at seeing his real character at last. I stepped back and closed the door quietly. Kyle pounded on it for several minutes while I walked slowly to the kitchen and made tea as if nothing had happened. When his car finally drove away, I sat in Margaret's favorite chair, holding her journal, feeling completely at peace for the very first time since her death. Looking at our wedding photo, I said quietly, "It is finished, my love." 1 year later, I walked through Riverside Cemetery on a sunny May morning, carrying fresh daisies to Margaret's grave. Birds sang in the oak trees, while spring flowers bloomed vividly along the walking paths. I looked healthier and more at peace than I had in years. Kneeling beside Margaret's polished granite headstone, I arranged the new daisies while speaking softly about the Margaret Foster Memorial Foundation's thriving first year. 20 scholarships awarded to deserving students. $200,000 donated to cancer research in Margaret's name. The community center dedication planned for Margaret's birthday. Kyle works at Sam's gas station on Route 6. I reported matter-of-factly. His divorce was finalized. Megan remarried to her restaurant owner. Kyle lived in complete social isolation and financial struggle. I felt no satisfaction in his suffering, only justice. Leaving the cemetery, I stopped at Morning Glory Diner. Kyle worked behind the counter wearing a stained uniform. Our eyes met across the diner. His shocked recognition and visible shame were palpable as I calmly ordered coffee, treating him like any other service worker. "How are you doing?" Dad Kyle's voice carried genuine humility for the very first time. "I am well, thank you." "I know sorry is not enough," he said quietly. "No, it is not." Kyle's admission surprised me. I understand now what I lost. It was never about the money, was it? You wanted me to love you, not your wallet. Your mother won that too. For the first time, Kyle's tears seemed genuine. "I did what I had to do," I explained. "Margaret would have approved. I have no regrets about any of it. I know Kyle accepted. I deserved all of it." "Yes, you did." When Kyle asked if there was any way back, I answered honestly, "I do not know. Maybe. You would have to prove you have really changed, not with words. Show me through your actions." I described my new life, volunteer work at the community center, new friendships with other volunteers, Sunday dinners with the Johnson family whose daughter received a scholarship. I was dating Grace, a kind widow from church. My life was now full of purpose and genuine relationships. Visiting Sarah Patterson, our first scholarship recipient, brought deep satisfaction. Her gratitude for the opportunity to attend nursing school. Her letter to Margaret's memory on the foundation website. Margaret's memory lived on through education. Driving home past Kyle's old house, I saw the Ramirez family had transformed it into a home filled with love and gratitude. Mr. Ramirez waved from the garden Margaret once tended. Children played where Kyle once played. The house embodied everything Margaret had valued. That evening, I prepared dinner in the kitchen I had once shared with Margaret, setting one place without sadness. My phone rang with Grace calling about our weekend plans. I smiled the first genuine happiness since Margaret's death. Standing in the garden at sunset, pruning Margaret's rose bushes, I felt the peace of a man who had fought for justice and won. My certain knowledge that I had honored my wife's memory brought complete satisfaction. Going to bed early, I slept soundly for the first time in 2 long years, dreaming of Margaret smiling and telling me, "You did the right thing, Alan. I am proud of you." Justice was served. Love had required tough choices, but the right choices. Rest in peace, my love. And yet, as the seasons continued to pass, I realized that this story was never only about loss or punishment. It was about the courage to face truth, even when it broke my heart. It was about finally understanding that love is not indulgence, but responsibility. That protecting the memory of someone you truly cherish sometimes means letting go of what poisons that memory. I had given Kyle every chance, but in the end, I had to save what remained of our dignity. Life taught me that justice is not revenge. It is balance. It is choosing to honor values that survive long after we are gone. It is teaching others through quiet actions that money and inheritance mean little compared to honesty, respect, and love that demands accountability. Margaret's roses bloom every spring, and each blossom reminds me of her laughter, her patience, and the clarity with which she saw the truth. Now I carry forward her legacy through the Margaret Foster Memorial Foundation, through every scholarship granted, every family supported, every life uplifted. That is how love lives on. My story is not only about grief, but about rebuilding life with purpose, and about understanding that even endings can hold new beginnings. I hope that in hearing my journey, you reflect on your own. Have you faced moments where love meant saying no, or where justice required you to choose strength over comfort? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. I truly want to listen to understand and to learn from the lives of others. If this story spoke to you, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And do not forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss another story that may touch your heart. At the end of this video, I invite you to leave one simple phrase in the comments as a declaration of your own journey. Love yourself. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next story. Until then, take care, and remember, justice, love, and dignity are never wasted.